Hello and welcome to the first Baseball Rapid Reaction. I'm Stephen Peak alongside our baseball beat writer, Daniel Hager. Real quick, Daniel, just because this is our first time doing one for baseball, if you can just sum up what has been a pretty good season so far for Kentucky baseball.
Yeah, I think they've totally defied expectations going into this season. All of last season they had 33 wins, and we're now in mid to late April, and we've got a month left of the regular season, and they're at 30 wins. So that's exponential growth. Nick Mingione said back in media day that their mantra this year was to be win for Kentucky, play for Kentucky, and they've definitely done that this year. Heading into their Easter weekend series with Georgia, they had yet to lose a series, where the weather made them play that Georgia game, a doubleheader on Easter Sunday, kind of on the road. So you see how they lose that one. And then going on the road to number one LSU. I mean, the first game, chalk that up to, you throw a pitcher out there who's really inexperienced. Of course, he's going to get shelled. But yeah, games 2 and 3, right there at him. Game number two, they got the win. Game number 3, a questionable intentional walk, but still a great showing. And then, they avoided the sweep today. That's all they needed to do.
So you come into this series with Texas A&M, as you mentioned, coming off back-to-back series losses. This seemed like a series that Kentucky maybe should have won. Kind of comes down to, you dropped that first game. There was 2 times, I think I told you at the end of the game, that I thought Kentucky had the game won. And they got up 5-3. They gave up that lead, but then bounced back, I think, immediately in the bottom half. I saw a stat where they're outscoring teams through the 5th and 7th innings, like 148-42 or something like that. And we saw that again last night. I actually saw it again today. But you mentioned in the LSU game the questionable intentional walk. And that's another decision that Mingione had to make. I think their best player, Texas A&M's best hitter, one of their best hitters at least, was in a 2-0 count. And he said, well, I just don't want my guy to groove a fastball and give up, the potential go-ahead home run. And he elects to intentionally walk him to get to and who was that again? I forget his name.
I believe it was Boast. I think that's what they were saying.
Okay. So, yeah, he elects to throw to Austin Boast, who lines one into the gap in right center, and that gives him the lead. And it's easy, I guess, in hindsight to say, like, well, why did you do that? That, Boast had 2 hits. He was, I think, 2 for 4 coming into that plate appearance. But he also struck out in 6 straight pitches. He struck out twice in 6 straight pitches in the 2 previous plate appearances. What did you think about that? I know.
Yeah, at the time, I even put it up on our baseball thread on KSR Plus. I mind that it's 18 on the season. Brett Minnick, who they had walked, homered in Game 1 yesterday. Actually, he was batting .327 on the season. Put runners first and third. I mean, you never want to put the go-ahead run on base, but in that situation where you've got 2 outs in the game, I think it's more of a problem of, instead of the intentional walk, not putting in another reliever. I thought for sure that Ryan Hagenow was going to make an appearance, midseason All-American. I thought they'd bring him in to get that last out. But, it's the Shoes' decision that game. It came back to haunt them. But once again, Dylan Cruz up to bat. We didn't really even get to see how that would have happened with Tommy White. We didn't see what he got to do because he was plunked. If he had just grounded out, it would have been an awesome decision to give Cruz the free bag. But that's just the way it rolls sometimes. Yesterday was definitely a tough loss, but they definitely got it back today. And I was puzzled and surprised to hear Mingione's comments that their philosophy wasn't changing. So it seems like he's going to be sticking to his gun. They're going to do the rest of the season.
I get the idea that you don't want to let the superstar beat you. And, it's going to be – it feels like one of those losses that it's going to hurt Kentucky in the long run. Because you would have won this series, and we'll get to the positives because Kentucky bounced back today in a big way. So we are gonna get to that. But I felt like last night's game, again you're 1 out away from a big series. Well, as we find out today, you never know. Butterfly effect could have changed the whole way this game was played today.
The walks seem to be becoming an issue with the pitching staff. Mason Moore, Zack Lee. And it slips my mind who it was of game 1, but 3 Kentucky pitchers with 5 walks in this weekend. I don't know if it's because that umpire had a really tight zone. I know both coaches were really, really on that this weekend.
And I will say that about last night too. I will say, and again, you're like, did the umpires cost them the game? I don't know, but I mean, man, it did feel like it was inconsistent all the way around. Is that like the worst thing you can be as an umpire?
Yeah.
Like if you're going to set up a tight strike zone, at least like I know the strike zone's tight, but then you would see that same pitch called for a strike later, and you'd be like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And I felt like that happened a lot. I mean, it was different home plate umpire, but felt like it happened in both games yesterday. But today, I mean, like again, Kentucky did a great job just getting guys on base. That's kind of I will say real quick before this, I don't know baseball. Like Magdiel knows baseball, but I felt like, man, they had a good hitter up in the. Gosh, I got to go back and look and see who it was. But it was bottom of the ninth, and then they elect to move the runner.
It was Hunter Gilliam that they had to lay down that bunt,
and he took a swing and just missed. He was trying to end it with one swing, just missed the next pitch. And
he was swinging.
You want to get the tying run in scoring position. I get it. I don't know, man. I just feel like, hey, like let's free swing. Let's see what happens. I don't want to give him an out either, because that to me kind of feels like, all right, you're playing for extras, like you're playing small ball, and I get, maybe. You got the pitcher thinking about a runner at second. You got, any ball that hits the grass is probably going to bring that runner in. But, Kentucky wasn't able to do it. And I just felt like, I just wish we would have had a shot at it.
Yeah, I mean, that's been their thing all season, live and die by the bunt. They're dead last in the SEC in homers, but are by far leading in bunts and sacrifice bunts. So, I mean, that's just what they're going to do. And if they're going to have their best hitter bunt in a situation where a bunt that Mingione thinks that's what they're going to do, it doesn't matter. I didn't like that decision either last night to have Gilliam bunt. I would have let him free swing. I think I saw a stat or more than a third of Kentucky's outs yesterday were on bunts. So I mean, Minge definitely loves that small ball, and I'm cautious to see how much he does that going into the conference tournament and the NCAA tournament, because just with these better teams, they don't know if that'll come back to bite them or not.
I understand small ball, and I understand like you want to get the runner scoring position. I'm just not big on like giving teams outs.
Yeah.
Especially at the college level when you got all these. I mean, they had sophomore
free outs.
Yeah, and I mean, look, who am I to say? Kentucky just won their 30th game of the season, and people didn't think they were going to win more than 33 all year, right? So, Mitchell knows what he's doing. For the most part, right?
For the most part,
yeah. And his team has done an excellent job this year. They're now 30-9. Is
30-9? Yeah.
Change gears here because today is a positive. Kentucky got a much needed win, and they did it in a big way. And again, it was a lot of runs through the fifth and the seventh innings that really separated them. What did you like from Kentucky today?
Yeah, just their ability and composure to bounce back. Coach Mingione was not happy last night after the loss. We had to wait a few minutes to talk to him. You could see he brought everyone in that dugout, and he came out by himself. So he gave them a really good talking to, and they came out today like they were pissed off that they let that happen. So that's what I took away from the game today.
Well, yeah, a big, we talk about this series that could have easily been a win. The first game, 13 men left on base. Second game, 13 men left on base. They left 26 guys on base yesterday, Daniel. But today, only 6. And they drove in a lot of those guys that were in scoring positions. So, and able to get them home in different ways. Pass balls, wild pitches, just getting guys on base and moving them around. Big time bounce back win, much needed, as you said. And now they are now 11-7 in the SEC. Daniel, you and I were just talking. 14 teams go to Hoover, Alabama. How do you feel about Kentucky's chances? Are they solid? I mean, that SEC East is. I mean, it's tough. Look at all those teams there. I mean, that's a gauntlet of how many teams are in the top 10. I mean,
yeah. I think the Cats I think they're firmly in the SEC tournament, unless, barring a total. They were to get swept by South Carolina, Vandy, Tennessee, and Florida. Obviously, that'd be wraps. But Missouri's pretty bad. They're lingering towards the bottom. Mississippi State and Auburn. And then I really honestly wouldn't be surprised with how the SEC went this year if you could pick off two of 3 against a South Carolina or Vanderbilt. They could be hosting their first regional since 2017. Just the exponential success that they featured this season really wasn't expected. You know, this last season they finished 33-26, and right now they're 30-9. Complete turnaround. They just got to keep it up against Louisville starting on Tuesday.
Yeah, and that's a big game too. Louisville, according to D1Baseball.com, they're 12th. They have Kentucky, I believe, 13th. And then they would go on to play Vanderbilt, who is, top team in the country. They just got swept by Tennessee. And that's one thing I was getting ready to say is that you look at this schedule and you think, well, who's the weakest team out of all that? Well, it's probably Tennessee, who's left on your SEC schedule. And they just went and beat the hell out of Vanderbilt this week, swept them. So, and a couple just absolute blowouts. So, yeah, I mean, it's a tough schedule coming up.
I'm sure the Cats will be right outside of the top 15 on Monday in time for their matchup on Tuesday with Louisville. And I'm sure they'll fall to around 20. So I mean, both teams are kind of reeling right now.
Yeah.
This is the point in the season where you definitely need wins to get up in that top 16 to host the regional. So, yeah, every game here on out is super important, and especially these home games, the Cats are going to need a lot of fans at KPP.
Yeah, and maybe we can just avoid doubleheaders.
Yes. 0 for 4 in SEC doubleheaders this season. So,
yeah. So Kentucky gets as you said, every game is important. This game was important. Kentucky got it done. A huge win to close out the series. We're going to try to do some more of these, covering the baseball team a little bit as they're having one of the best seasons they've had in about 6 years. Would you say, Daniel? Is that about right?
Oh, yeah.
We'll be back with some more, maybe hopefully after Kentucky gets a big win over the Cardinals on Tuesday. Thanks for watching.